Hi, so this is Danielle Linder, and I'm going to share with you the results that I have from my surveys. So the first survey I'm going to talk about is the survey that I gave to my students, age 5 to 6 year old group. Actually, it was my uh, colleagues class, and so I asked them. And it is an ESL class, so their English level is not so good. So, and their questions were in English. So I try to keep the questions really basic because the students, number one, they're 5 and 6 years old, so they can't really respond so eloquently or so long and such long sentences or complicated sentences. And also, like, their English level isn't so high. So I gave them like very typical questions, but also questions that I can see like where their family's from, like what kind of economic background and like what kind of technology they use. I did try to be able to ask those kind of questions. So like the first question was like, does your mom and dad read to you? What's your favorite book that they read to you? Who's in the story? And all the students, and this was what was like the most interesting question, and I could understand more about like this age level, was like they couldn't say the story, the title of the book. They could just say like, I like the robot book, or I like the book with the two girls and there's a pink flamingo in it. That's who was in the story. And one student was a little sad, I could see, and this was also eye-opening, was his parents are too busy. They don't have time to read to them. And so the next question was, do you have a pad? Do you have a tablet? Do you have a phone? Yes, of course. They're all from affluent families. I knew that already. But how long can you use it? The students can't really use the technology once they get home. Just like to do like homework. And because China's done this new policy now where students can't spend more, or children under the age of like 14 or something like this, they can't spend more than 30 minutes at a time like online or staring at screens, especially like on games. Like they've actually made restrictions now. So like if a child tries to get on a game here and they've got those parental restrictions on, they'll boot them off after 30 minutes. And the next question was like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Yeah, this was the most fun one. I got like superhero, and I got like I want to be like an owner of a hotel. That was pretty interesting. And so yeah, I could just see that they're still like really imaginative. That their reading, their understanding of the world is still really small. Like their ability to articulate complete thoughts is still small. And I also could understand more like, oh wow, like Bowen's parents are not there for him. They're too busy. They can't even read to him, which I think reading to children is so important at every age, but especially like, the early years. And so then now I'm going to talk about the results from the survey that I did. So I surveyed 3 teachers from different levels. First teacher is an IB teacher at my sister's school. She teaches 3rd grade. She's a co-homeroom teacher, so she teaches ESL and history and science. And the next person I spoke with is a kindergarten 1st grade teacher at a Common Core school in Beijing, a bilingual school, and ESL. He's an ESL teacher. And last teacher is a ESL teacher at a public school teaching 6th grade. And all of the teachers, they had very different responses. You could see like the different styles of teaching. The middle school teacher, he did not really value technology. He also doesn't have time. He's got like 50 students at 35-minute classes, and he's got to teach them like how to speak English. So I think his classes are pretty boring. So his his response was like, I don't see the difference between like technology. I don't see any more engagement. I think if I spoke Chinese, they would be just as engaged. I don't need to show like a video or anything. The other teachers, I want to ask them like, do you see more engagement when you use technology? There was like resounding like yes. I like to use interactive games, especially with ESL. It makes it more interesting. Or like the next question was like, how do you differentiate? Do you differentiate using technology? The IB teacher, she had the best responses, in my opinion. She said like she uses like work centers, and that each student they have like their own work center like in a group, and the if they're like learning something in math, they'll do like a game, specific game like related to math, like online. It'll be like a computer area that they'll do like this game, or like they'll do RAS, and RAS will like automatically differentiate for them and like put them in like their reading group level. So like they'll do their little reading corner. And so yeah, I thought her responses were really good. Like how did I asked him also like what was the future of education? The kindergarten teacher, he had like a really crazy response. He said like he thinks AI is gonna like be too much of an influence like upbringing children. He hopes that's not the case. And so like yeah, you could see like the difference between like just like resources between the middle school teacher, and then like yeah, at like my school, these kids are like super wealthy. They're not even, they've got nannies looking after them. So yeah, and but you could see like the similarities, like that all teachers thought that using technology was effective, that they could differentiate, that there was at least a possibility of differentiating. And the middle school teacher maybe has too many students, but he understands that you can still differentiate for this age level. And also like for ESL, like it was much more interesting for the two teachers, especially when they had interactive games. And so like yeah, there were a lot of differences just between teaching styles and just resources, but at the root of it, the it was the same. Like